The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
Thanks for joining us for episode number 486 of the West Tigers podcast, a post-game edition of the pod. Unfortunately, it is another post-loss edition of the West Tigers podcast. This time going down by 3 points, which is, I'd love to know the stat on that. Have we ever lost a game by 3 points before? I don't quite remember that, but it could have been the first. But it was 16 points to 13, the final score, after trailing 12 points to 0 against Parramatta. And Nick was out at the game. Josh, were you at the game?
No, Joel. No. I was home on the couch. So.
That's it. You'd been to the movies. Now, speaking of movies, we're going to do, instead of one word, we're going to do either a movie title or a song to sum up the West Tigers or the West Tigers afternoon or whatever you want to do, however much creative you want to be. I've got a whole list of them. We've got the ones off the West Tigers podcast forum as well. Nick, what have you got for us after attending the game today?
Yeah, I'll give you a few. So I've used this one before, Groundhog Day, but I figure that's a bit boring because, it's just too repetitive.
By definition, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If I think about some songs, I'm just looking through the list. So a good one by REM, Everybody Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably, you could dedicate that to all West Tigers fans at the moment. Everybody hurts, and it's week after week. We are all hurting. How about this one by Green Day, Boulevard of Broken Dreams?
Yeah.
We all live in the Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yeah.
But the one I'll go with, actually, when I was in the office on Friday afternoon, we had a bit of a sing-along to some Spotify ballads, and one that I put on, which I absolutely love, and not so much the original, but there's a couple of really good remakes. The Sound of Silence.
Yeah.
I think that just describes West Tigers and our future hopes very well. Very dark and not much to look forward to. So that's my song.
Yeah, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend. It's
correct.
The first line of that song, yes, which is the life of a West Tigers fan. What about you, Josh?
Well, I considered Kenny Rogers the gambler. You got to know when to hold him, and you've got to know when to fold him. And I think we probably need to fold him this year. But and it's unfortunate because Nick did steal my thunder here a bit. I had Everybody Hurts by REM. I've got it up here on my screen, ready. You know, when your day is long and the night is yours alone, when you've had enough of this life. Well, hang on. Don't let yourself go. Well, maybe the Tigers should let themselves go. So maybe that. But yes, Everybody Hurts from REM was also my choice. So I feel like that's very appropriate, that song, for where we are at the moment. So yeah,
good one, boys. I've got a few here. We'll go movies first, just to mix it up. I've got, and I did this as the game went on, so some of these are around where we were in the game at different points, but I've got 0, dark 30, 0 being the most operative word. For 60 minutes we were sitting on 0, certainly nowhere near 30. Groundhog Day I had, of course, zombie apocalypse, because we were playing like zombies for about 60 minutes. Dumb and Dumber, that's Parramatta and the West Tigers today. How the West was won. Well, that's a good one, I thought. All Quiet on the Western Front, when we couldn't score a try. Along that same vein of cowboy Western movies, The Magnificent Seven, but it's now 7 losses in a row. And did we have a Magnificent Seven out there today? I don't know about that. There's a couple of others. All the rest of the songs. Okay, so Shut Down, Turn Off. I think that's probably good advice for West Tigers fans. I've got Puff the Magic Dragon, because thank God for those magic dragons who are keeping us away from the spoon. Slip Sliding Away, that's West Tigers. I Should Be So Lucky. I've got My Way, the old Frank Sinatra song. Mistakes, I've made a few.
Yeah.
Josh, I hope you got the stats on the mistakes from that game today, because we're going to run through those. And I have got here bye, because thank God we've got the bye this weekend. That's going to be fantastic. 19th nervous breakdown, which is for you, Nick.
Hmm.
How I feel tonight, comfortably numb. In other words, I'm not feeling it too much. I don't know if it was just expectation or it's just repetitive, but not feeling too disappointed because, yeah, just the life of the West Tiger is that kind of thing happens. And this is a cryptic one, right? We'll see we'll test your brains, guys. The House of the Rising Sun. Now, bear in mind, I wrote this down after 60 minutes when we were sitting on 0 points. Do you know what the House of the Rising Sun is about?
I do know that song well, but it's been a while. They used to play that at school. Every band when I was at school, every school band used to try and rock band used to try and play that. But it's been a while.
Well, it's about an establishment where the ladies of the night might work. And after 60 minutes, I thought that was appropriate because West Tigers couldn't score, even in one of those establishments where there are ladies of the night. So that's how the House of the Rising Sun came up. We'll run through the others.
It also, Joel has a good line. Tell your children not to do what I have done, to spend your lives in sin and misery in the House of the Rising Sun. So I'm going to tell my kids not to follow the Tigers, I think, and not live in that house of sin and misery. So, yeah.
Yep.
You know what? Just on that line, I was sitting there in the stands watching the game this afternoon, this evening, with my boy Isaac. I've got 3 boys. My middle boy, a fellow behind me in the Tigers jersey, towards the end of the game, tapped me on the shoulder, and he goes, "Why have you done it to him?" I said, "I know." I said, "I've got 2 others at home. They have no interest, so he's the only one." But yeah, we're suckers.
Where do we start? There's a lot of heat on Benji. Why don't we start it with Benji? Some of the fans are turning pretty quick. I think any club that loses 7 games in a row, the fans are going to start turning. Maybe a little bit more so after the beginning to the season that we had. In the post-match press conference, Benji said we tried hard, had chances to win, but he was sort of, I don't know, Josh. To me, I don't know if you saw the press conference. Right. He put on a very positive spin on what most of us would describe as a pretty bleak sort of afternoon for the team.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at this game in isolation, if I ignored that we'd lost the last 6 in a row, I go, well, we were probably the better team on the day, and we just couldn't finish it. Couldn't take our opportunities, and that's unfortunate. And sometimes at their home ground, I know it was our home ground, technically our ground, but their home ground, that's going to happen. So if I look at it in isolation, I can see why. I mean, and if you look back how we've played the last few weeks, we've been well and truly smashed. So I guess it's been, and if we'd walked away at 13-12 with a win, would we have been elated? No, but would we have been happy, and would it have been a good result? So I kind of think, if you take the first 74 minutes, we probably take that as we were in a good position. So I can kind of see where Benji's come from there. And after a hard week and with the bye coming up, I mean, I don't think there's any need for him to come out and smash the team publicly. So, I mean, he did seem a little bit. I do wonder if he's starting to get a little bit out of answers though for what this team looks like. That's probably my wonder. At least for this season, I think. I think the club and the team are very much looking forward to the off season. But they got up today for Appy's 250th. Like I thought, the execution was poor, but I thought they had a crack. Like it was very different to what we've seen the last few weeks. Like they shouldn't have lost. Parramatta were woeful and made 19 errors. But I thought the effort that hasn't been there was there today for the majority of them. It just wasn't necessarily working. So I can see where he's coming from. But when the end of the day, we still lost to a Parramatta team that's fairly woeful. So, yeah, it's hard to be too excited.
Well, I mean, that's the issue, isn't it, Nick, is that it's all well and good to be up for a player's milestone game. But for fans, it is okay to be negative when the effort was there and the execution was so poor. Like, what hope do we have if that was us playing out of our skin, for want of a better term?
Yeah, I think that just shows where we're at as a club at the moment. Just there's no confidence in the joint. And there were plenty of opportunities there today in the first half. I think we had quite a few attacking opportunities. I think AD threw a couple of poor passes. I know Patrick Herbert was it the second half when he was denied that try?
First half.
But first half, yeah. That went very, very close, and I think we're a little bit unlucky because I don't know which Parramatta player it was. There was a leg in the way,
Yeah.
which may have shown that ball probably touching the line there. But yeah, we had some opportunities, but I guess that just goes to show a team that's now, what are we, 0-7 the last 7 weeks? I think our last win was the Titans game at Leichhardt, which seems an eternity ago. Just shows where we're at. There's not much happiness in the place, and it's very, very difficult for things to go your way when you're not going out there and winning games, when you're not performing. So it's just a very flat mood at the moment.
Something that stands out to me, Josh, when I look at the team is I've never seen a team that's so bereft of set plays.
100% agree, Joel. Like you look at them attacking, and it's not even the tries today were just a couple of guys deciding to run hard, and a couple of other moments, where we had Taruva dropping that ball with the line open, and the Herbert one was Herbert running hard. I mean, that was maybe a bit of a play, the Herbert one, but but we don't look, and I think it's hurting some of our. I think it hurts Buller in attack, especially because we're not like I watched the Roosters the other night and other games as well, not just the other night because the Cowboys were woeful, but they create space for Tedesco.
Yeah.
They create space
Correct.
for their centers. Ours don't ever seem to be running into gaps or space. I think it's a lot of it comes down to, I think it's all over the place. I think the forwards aren't creating that speed to play the ball, and then I think we're not. The structure of the attack, as you said, looks really non-existent. Like that's, I think, the
very one-dimensional
challenge. Yeah, and I think that probably shows out in the fact that we won a lot of the stats, and the effort wasn't too bad today, but it just there was no execution of the fact we had lots of balls. So yeah, weren't setting it up well.
One thing I noticed, I sat on about the 30-metre line, but I noticed that we did at times play with a fair bit of depth, which I liked seeing. There was a lot of good ball out the back, but there weren't many players running lines, like coming back inside across the play. It was just, let's set deep, let's shift it left or let's shift it right. But then you get to a point where you reach the defensive line and no one's deciding to take on another line or another angle. So there's nothing different. It's just very predictable. And we just kept running ourselves in the corners. But you're right, Joel. Like, what are they practicing? What shape? I know they look like they're playing with shape, but they're not playing with much, with many options off that shape.
No, that's
it's just very, very bland.
It's very, what's the word? Like telegraphed, or it's sort of like if you can pick us off, you only have to pick us off one thing per play, if that makes sense. And Luai is a perfect example of that, where he doesn't put. I don't know what it is about us. My football brain's not big enough to be able to give an accurate description as to what he does differently. But maybe it's just the fact, Josh, that we don't seem to have, bodies in motion around him, and he gets the ball, and probably Doueihi does as well to a degree. He gets the ball, and everybody's waiting to see what he does, rather than the other players around him sort of taking that initiative and trying to create opportunities around them.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think also we're not getting the fast play the ball in the attacking areas. Like the forwards, like Terrell May it's a slow play, but like it's a slow play. The defense is all getting themselves set, even not the play the ball itself. Everybody stands around and ducks around, and it gives everyone time to get back. Seafath is probably the same. Samuela Fainu playing on an edge is the same. Twal is not particularly in the attacking area, getting a quick. I think. And then we also saw today, like even when Pole scored that try, like it was amazing, and we'll probably get to that. But he had to run straight and hard through the middle because no one else kind of doing anything. They were all standing around. Yeah. So I kind of like, and I know when your attack's bad, a lot of criticism goes on to the backs and the halves and the spine, but the forwards have got to be like the reason we were scoring. Actually, and I kind of thought back to early in the season, we were scoring a lot of tries in that kind of either side of half time. Is that Royce Hunt and Samuela Fainu were coming on after 25 minutes, and they were running hard and creating quick play the ball. Like it was that momentum.
Pole.
He's been coming on and doing it, but I mean, Royce was kind of setting up a lot of, like, I think back a lot of those quick play the balls that set up kind of a chain reaction of, and maybe it's because blokes are injured, maybe because of things, but we're not in that attacking zone. Everything's done at a slow pace.
Yeah.
And I think that once you slow out of the ruck, there's not much halves can do anyway, or backs can do. I agree with you. They're not guys moving, but perhaps they're not moving because by the time the 5'8's got the ball, the defenders are already
they're right
half
on.
a 5'8. They're right on them, and therefore, where are you going? So,
yeah.
You did say Royce Hunt there twice. Royce Hunt didn't play, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying that was what it was earlier in the
Royce
season.
Hunt. Okay.
Royce Hunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say on Terrell, you mentioned about Terrell's slow play balls. He gets tackled one of two ways, right? When he gets tackled standing up, that gives the defensive team or defensive players the ability to hold him there for an extended period, which slows the play ball down. When he finds the ground, he always ends up on his back. So he's been rolled over, and he's not a athletic guy. He takes his time to sort of straighten up and then play the ball, which is obviously what you're saying, Josh. He's very slow in that regard. So very frustrating, but very lumbering as well.
What about Benji's call saying that he thought Adam Doueihi was outstanding? Would anybody describe Adam's game today as being outstanding?
No, I think AD was trying hard. He had moments where he was good, and I'm not just talking about the try where that was a good solo effort, that run. I think he ran close to 15 metres and beat quite a few players with a bit of a stepping run back in towards the post there. But he played with a lot of effort and intent. He was clearly out there to try and right some wrongs from the last week as well. When he scored that try, he stared down the Parramatta fans, which was right in front of their home crowd, and gave them a bit of a glare. But he also threw a couple of poor passes. That cutout pass he tried to throw to Ruva that went way over his head and out over the sideline. I thought that was very average. You don't remember that one, Josh?
No, I remember the one that Ruva dropped with the line open that hit him in the breadbasket.
He dropped that one, yes. He should have taken that. It was slightly behind him, but he should have taken that. But he did throw one I think it might have been the first half, then went way over to Ruva's head. Like it was,
yeah. Okay.
You would have had to be 7'8" to be able to try and catch it, and he still would have had his hands above his head. But look, a lot of them made errors. We mentioned the error count earlier. I know Parramatta made a lot of errors too. It's probably a good 16th versus 15th game, wasn't it? The way it was played out, and probably a fair result that one team won by 3 points, and sadly it wasn't us.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Adam was outstanding, but if I compare him to Jerome, he probably was outstanding. And Jerome's on $1.2 million, so that's the guy who we're paying the money to be the number one man. Like, his job is to get stuff going and to win. He's the captain. He's on $1.2 million. He's been woeful the last few weeks, and he was woeful today. So, that's where it's not going well. And I know he's going next season, but you know what? We're still paying him this season. So if you're still getting paid, you've got to be showing something. And he's missing tackles. He's not setting up points. He's not creating energy. I don't know why he's out there. He shouldn't be there after the bye.
We had 100 opportunities. Like, Parramatta kept dropping the ball. We had more opportunities than you'd normally get in 4 games of football. And for around 60 minutes, we couldn't score a point. I think everything that Adam did today, he could do at 13. And I think we need to do something different next year. And I know, obviously, Luai won't be there, but I don't think we're going to be able to be the team that we want to be if Doueihi is the number 7.
I said it the other night, Joel. Benji had his opportunity.
Yeah.
You picked him a week ago. Adam didn't like it. Whether that's the sole reason or not, I don't care. But Benji had the opportunity to put his foot down and say, okay, you're back in the team, but you're playing 13 because we want to see what it looks like with Javon on one side, you in the middle, Luai or whoever it is on the other side. And he missed it. So, I mean, do it next week when we play. Is it Dragons after the bye? I think it might be Dragons our next game. So, and you know what? I would do it to AD. I think I've said it several times, and I know people have shot me down and said we're going to get spanked, but I would seriously consider next year Latu and Javon in the halves, and I know it's very young and inexperienced, and AD in the middle of the two. I think he's your experienced half that can play in that sort of, running 13 role. So
he could
he's
be a
got
first receiver. He can do lots of stuff. He can float from both different sides. But so long as they've got a game plan to work how that works out, I think it's workable.
and off the back of that, we've said it before. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. And all we do is pick pretty much the same team week after week, and we are still losing.
Josh, was this the game that we should have debuted Javon in?
I mean, it's against Parramatta. It's a home game. Yeah, I mean, I think last week, even before the Adam stuff, going to Canberra, um, down there against a side that was getting better was probably not the best place to debut him in. But you know what? Like young guys, you bring him in for a game or two, you put him back. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And he went back today to New South Wales Cup and absolutely brained them. I didn't see the game, but I watched the 15-minute highlights before, and really it was Javon and Solomon Sakuru, playing against destroying the Eels reserve grade. So, so obviously he came out of that well. So I think he'll definitely be back. But yes, I think the home game would have been a better option. It'll be interesting to see what happens after the bye, although Larcher's still out for another week. So it'll probably be more interesting to see what happens the game after once Larcher's back, to where they all shake around. But it'd be interesting to see what happens, and then what happens with an off season to prep things where they decide to put them. I'm not convinced having Latu and Javon as two young kids in the halves isn't too much. Individually, I think they're both probably you could have one of them. I think it's a challenge to have two of them without much first grade experience in the halves.
In our team, it's probably not ideal. Anyway, that's a fair way down the down the track still. You mentioned the definition of insanity, Nick, doing the same thing over and over again. Benji's also copping some heat over Makasini. We just mentioned Sakuru, who's killing it in New South Wales Cup, cannot get a go. How many games has Makasini cost us this year? He's cost us a couple of games with his defence.
Sadly, that miss was very costly at the end of the game. Yeah, and I've watched that back. I saw it when it happened live. It was kind of a bit of an angle, and I thought, who missed that tackle? And watched the replay, and it was Makasini. He sort of got stuck between the two attackers running at him, and he didn't know which way to go, and he just kind of fell. Caught completely flat-footed. But yeah, he's missed a few this season. You're right, Joel. He's been dropped back a couple times to reserve grade, and I wondered whether he'd probably sit back there for a number of games in a row and play a bit of cup and get his confidence back up. But Benji just seems to bring him in fairly quickly. Sakuru, maybe it is true. Maybe he's off to the Eels. Maybe he doesn't feature at all in Benji's future plans. It must be the only reason why he hasn't been picked.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think if he's going and you go, well, Makasini is going to be here next year, like you do with an eye to the future. You take it and you go, he's 18, he's going to have some problems, because otherwise you'd have Toa and Herbert in the centres. That's Toa was on the bench today, so he's obviously fit to play. So, look, I mean, yes, Makasini let that try. I think that was, it was fairly horrible defence, and he has done that a few times. But on the other hand, we should have been up by 3 or 4 tries by that stage. Parramatta, I think, went 20 minutes without completing a set. So it looks like that try cost us the game. Well, no, the first 74 minutes cost us the game. So,
and the Appy penalty for the high shot that he gave away a minute before that,
shocker
as well, certainly didn't help.
No.
I mean, that is just such a West Tigers thing to do, isn't it? To be leading, to be holding on by your bare fingernails, and you give the opposition an absolute piggyback down the field.
With a shoulder charge. It wasn't even, it was a dumb penalty. Yeah.
We'll have a look at the West Tigers podcast forum. Not one words, but songs and, there is one word submission. It's a good one. It's from Peter A, and it's anhedonia. And anhedonia, I had to look it up. It means the inability to feel pleasure or joy from things you usually like. So, good one, Peter A. That's a classic. Anhedonia. We'll have a look at the stats in a sec, Josh, too, if you get those stats right. I want to have a look at those mistakes and a few other things. Dirty Reds, their song was Dead by the Pixies, and I don't know that song. Anybody, you guys know that song? No.
No, but I'd like to be dead. I think it'd be very peaceful, to tell you the truth.
It would be. You'd never lose again. Mercy Rule, Inside Problems by Andrew Bird, saying, thinks there's some inside problems in the club. Broken Folks, that's obviously the fans. That's Anthony Atkinson and the Running Mates, so I've never heard of either. From Dreams to Dust by the Felice Brothers, which is really, these are actually album covers. These are actually not songs. But From Dreams to Dust, that's West Tigers 2026. That's perfect. The Pretender by Jackson Brown, and that's aimed at Marshall as the coach, The Pretender. Thank you, Mercy. Real good ones. Tiger Lily, Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick, and movie Groundhog Day. Snake's word was Let Down, or their song was Let Down by Radiohead. And the Snakes movie was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Where have our players gone? They've all been taken away. Teddy S, Friday the 13th. We're all unlucky and doomed. Mike went for The Eve of Destruction, and the movie being Bad Teacher, and that's aimed at our attack coach, who's a bad teacher. Does anybody know? Is that Hodgson? Is that Brett Hodgson?
Yes.
Attack coach, yeah.
Yep. Natmac 78, The Pursuit of Happiness. We're still looking for it.
Been long. Yeah.
Mac Tiger, Shut Up Your Face, and that was aimed at Adam Doueihi after his try when he was carrying on to the Eels fans and everybody else. And the movie that Mac Tiger went for was They're a Weird Mob, and that's aimed at the club. We keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Plunder Monkey went for Apocalypse Now as the movie, and the song Basket Case by Green Day. So thank you to everybody that submitted those. We just thought we'd mix it up and do it a little bit different, Nick.
Just thought of another one too, a song by Nickelback, Burn It to the Ground.
Burn It to the Ground.
I'll see you at Concord tomorrow.
Well, if things don't change, a certain Beatles song is coming to mind, and that's called Revolution.
Yeah.
But anyway, Josh, what are some stats that stand out? What was the error count? It had to be over 30.
The error count was 34. So
Wow.
34 errors according to NRL.com, along with 11 penalties and only 5 six agains, 4 to us and 1 to the Eels. So,
Yeah, I thought we got the better of those. Yeah.
we did. We got 6 penalties to 5, and we only made 15 errors to 19. So we actually won all of those stats, but that's means every minute and a half of this game there was either a penalty, an error, or a 6 again. So
Yeah.
that probably shows that it was a fairly low quality outing from both sides. Some interesting pieces is, look, across the stats, we had 55% possession, so we should have won this game. Against team making that many errors, 55% possession. Our completion rate was 10% better than theirs. We made an extra 300 meters. We had more line breaks. We had almost double the amount of tackle breaks that the Eels had, which speaks to our defense was, probably better than theirs over across the field.
Well, certainly theirs in the first half was good, but their second half defence wasn't as good.
Yeah, the second half fell apart, and we just didn't take advantage. And that's probably the story of one of those games where we've dominated everything, but we didn't get on the scoreboard. Probably 2 other interesting bits that popped up is which I think you would have noticed on the ground is Benji only used, technically 3. Charlie Murray came on for the last 3 minutes, but he only used 15 players. So a lot of our guys played, Appy played 80 minutes, Terrell May played 65, but Murray got 3 minutes, and the 4th reserve, Mason, Tristan Hope, and Toa, none of which were used, which, I'm not feeling too bad about any of them individually not being used, but that's kind of an interesting setup for our season. The other thing is Benji's, and I'm just going to confirm this because I looked it up earlier. Benji's coaching record, we're at about 33%, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah,
which is about the same coaching record as one Terry Lamb had with the West Tigers. So, we're hitting some low points there. So,
dare I say it, Benji's probably got a better squad than Terry Lamb had.
Yeah, I would say that I don't know. That was a fairly good squad, a bit wild, but probably yes, I would say it's probably a little bit better. But Benji's 22 wins out of 67 games, or today would have been out of 68 games at a 2.84 before today, so it would have dropped a little bit. And Terry Lamb, 50 games at a 32% win record. So Benji is, right in line with the great years we had under Terry Lamb at the Tigers. So, yeah.
Barry O'Farrell came out supporting Benji, saying he still thinks he's the man for the job, which is always a worry when you're the coach and you've got the full support of the board. That is a worry, Nick, isn't it? Because once a coaches tend to have this sort of period. Like, it tends to almost always go the same way, doesn't it? The coach gets appointed, the team responds, the team does okay, but the coach gets some leeway because it's not really their squad, and then they start building their squad and they have some time. But it can be really hard to pull it back. Once you're down in the doldrums as a coach, the pressure is so intense. And I know that Benji's got that contract. He can't lose either way, and he'll pick up another job in the media straight away. But it's a massive task he's got in front of him.
Yeah, it's huge, and you're right. He does have the backing of the board and the club, so he's going to be there for a while. I did say if we lose the next 4 or 5 games by 30, 50 points, that how does he continue on? Like, I could see him actually putting his hand up and saying, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stand down, which could possibly be in the best interest of the club. But then you think
the best
about
interest of Benji.
Yeah. Well, yeah, best interest of Benji and the club as well. But then you think about the players that are tied to him. So you're potentially going to lose a lot of people like Terrell May. You may lose the Fainu boys, and I'm not sure who else. I know Uppy probably came a lot for Benji as well, but a lot of quality players that you can build a team around. But I don't know, we're struggling. We are struggling. Benji's obviously struggling as a coach. We've talked about how it almost looks like he's running out of ideas. He picked a really odd bench, and I did say a couple of nights ago on the pod that I expect a lot of players are going to play big minutes because I can't see a lot of those bench players being used, and that's what happened. So I don't know what we do. He's going to have a huge reset after the bye. We've got the Dragons. I can see. Can you imagine the Dragons they're going to come last? Like, they've got that wrapped up.
Yeah,
the wooden spoon is theirs. They're going to probably beat us twice in the season. Like, that is really, really bad. And then we've got the Roosters. I know the Cowboys after that. Like, I know they got absolutely pumped by a record score a couple of nights ago.
But it'd be so West Tigers to turn around and get beaten by 70 by the team that got beaten 80 by conceded 82. Yeah,
100%. And then most likely, as Josh always says, we've got the Windsor Wolves in round 27, who will probably also beat us as well. I can see us losing.
You'd have to be on the Wolves at this stage, wouldn't you? I think they'd be strong favourites coming into round 26. So
100%. But you think then we're going to go our last probably 16, 17 games will be 2 wins and 14, 15 losses. Like, that is very, very difficult to come back from. And you've got to go into a long off season. I know a lot of players are going. There's World Cup at the end of this NRL season, so a lot of players are playing in that. They're going to have extended breaks. The rep players are going to come back for pre-season, and Benji's going to have to fire him up and get him going again. And apart from Jake Averillo, who else have we got coming in that's going to make a significant difference next season?
Well, we've got one guy who it looks like is heading our way. We'll talk about him shortly. Yeah. Let's just go back to the bench, Josh. We were all critical of the bench that was named. I think a more impactful bench, and there were a couple of options there. I've got to give Tony Suker a rap. I thought he went really well on that right edge when he came on, played with plenty of energy. But I think the bench cost us ultimately.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what I would have done differently. I mean, would you have taken Appy off? Like, that's you would have had to take Appy off. Was probably the other whoever you had on there. That was kind of probably the where you'd have some impact. Twile had a break. You don't want to take Samuela Fainu off. The other forwards all had a break. I don't think they played. Appy played a lot of minutes. Samuela played the 80. Terrell May 65. Twile 66. That's kind of the minutes they generally play. It would have been less minutes for some of the guys off the bench. So you would have just had less minutes from Sukar and less minutes from Seyfarth probably for someone else. Like, I'm not sure it really. I'm not sure that makes a difference. And it might make a worse difference. Like, did you have Mav Guy? It's like, look at the guys in reserve grade. It's forwards that you bring onto that bench or you're having Andrews, but then he comes on for one of the like that whole moving halves and things during the match doesn't really, change, really help. So
I thought Sorry, Josh. I was going to say I thought Fanua was good off the bench. I'd much
100%.
prefer him
Yeah.
bringing on that impact.
Yeah.
The only other thing I probably would have done was maybe start Suka on the edge and put Sione back on the bench,
Yeah.
and use him for a bit of thrust off off that interchange bench. But yeah, we had minimal options, which is why we didn't see many of those guys rotating into the team. But yeah, disappointing.
And we had no injuries for one of the few times
Yeah.
this year. The reason we probably only used 3 is because no one was injured. So
Nobody hobbled off.
yeah.
We have the worst defence in the league. 589 points we've conceded, which is more than the Dragons. I think the Dragons were 569, I think. They always talk about defence being about attitude. Is that obviously John Morris looks like he's going to the Dragons. Man, the Dragons, like, why would you appoint someone? No offense to John Morris, who I'm sure is a lovely guy and all of that, but why would you hire John Morris when you've been the West Tigers defensive coach through the last few years and this year when the team's going to concede over 600 points? That's a strange one. But anyway, is that a sign that our attitude at times is poor, boys? Do you think that that's an effort thing, that our defence has been so consistently poor this year? Bearing in mind there were a couple of floggings in there, which obviously inflated things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think necessarily that. I think defense is not like I look at a defensive coach. I don't think our defensive structures are too bad, and so that's where I go. Well, is it the defensive coaching? I probably don't think it is. Like, I think it's a lot of the when we've been because the first 8 weeks the defensive structure was the same as it was for the next 10 weeks. So therefore, I go, well, actually, it's coached reasonably well from a defensive structure point of view. But it's been the effort. Injuries obviously play a part. You bring blokes in and out. Selection plays a part, like mixing guys around in combinations and
Which we certainly have
and
done.
injuries and things. I mean, the Cowboys are coming ninth and they've let in 550 points. So I mean, the 84 helped.
Yeah,
but so did the 60 something we let into Penrith. So yeah, I think a lot of it's down to not having the players there and not having the combinations, and then and injuries. And so I think a lot of that over the season has worn down, but I think the effort a few weeks has been relatively poor. But today we let in, 3 tries, and I don't think the last one was obviously a Maxine mistake, but I don't think we were particularly bad in defence today, and it was the same.
We were lucky a few times.
We were lucky a few times, but that happens to teams every week. So we were unlucky with the ball, so you can also say so were the Eels. So yeah.
I know Para got through us a couple of times today and they spilt the ball a couple of times, or I know at one point in the first half, I think it was, AD came in chasing Josh Adokar and managed to sort of knock the ball out. They did get through us. But I actually think we're a little bit tighter with our defence the last couple of weeks out wide. I feel like we're not being run around as easily as what we had done the sort of month or 6 weeks leading up to the last couple of weeks. I know the points against haven't been as bad. Not sure if that's a defensive improvement. I know that Junior Tupu has been added into the team. Maybe changes a little bit there, and Skelton's obviously been dropped. So maybe a couple of positional changes. And Paddy Herbert, of course, the last couple of weeks has been added too. So I think he's probably been doing fairly well defensively.
I was going to say, I think both those two. Actually, weirdly enough to say, I think we've had a lot of different blokes on the left wing this year. I think Junior Tupou has been the pick of them. I know he's been playing in losing teams, but defensively, staying on his guy. He's keeping his gaps. Like if you watch him on that edge, and Pat Herbert is just strong and like he's not amazing, but he's strong and
he's
strong
been
and solid. Yeah.
He was very physical today. Again, he was good for somebody who's not his biggest fan. I thought he went well.
It was close to our best today for me. I thought he was across the board. So.
I wish we could merge parts of a couple of players together. Yeah. Like Junior Tupu, I love his speed. And today he was sprinting at the defensive line really, really quick, but he was getting hit and dropped really quickly. He had no thrust. If we could add Skelton's thrust into the way Tupu runs, that would be the ideal winger.
Yeah, we need to Frankenstein a few of them.
Yeah, correct.
Frankenstein's monster.
A couple of those bolts sticking out the neck.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of a conspiracy theory. Samuela Fainu is not staying at the West Tigers. He's taking big money from PNG, and that's what's been at the That is what has been at the crux of all of the fallout, because obviously there's a link there with Luai. It's a huge conspiracy theory, given these two brothers are still at the club, and obviously, by the look of it, are considered, long-term propositions. But I don't know. I can't help but feel there's something going on there with Samuela Fainu.
I agree. I was at a fan event before the game today where Sean Milkamp was actually interviewed, and he actually made a comment about in response to a question he was asked about the point of when the season tipped from being 5-2 early on, and then we started losing games, and he made a comment about our number 6 and how things started to turn south off the back of that player's decision. And I noted it was said early in the season that Romy had an agreement with Benji not to recruit from within. But I would not be surprised if there's a little link there with Samuela. And yeah, you have to think like Samuela's holding out, right? So he's gonna get very attractive offers right across the NRL. But PNG's going to blow anyone out of the ballpark.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think it's just PNG. I mean, he's young. He's an exceptional talent. I think there'll be lots of guys for him. And it's an interesting question. I was listening to one of the Triple M podcasts. We're kind of talking about players off contract in different positions, and the interesting thing is though that second row position is probably the strongest position off contract at the end of next year. Like there's a lot of guys who are good players. Like most of the guys who played Origin this year are kind of off contract at the end of next year. So, I absolutely want to keep Samuela. I think he's really important, but there is a limit to how much money you can pay a second rower. You've already got Kai Pearce-Paul on the other side, and if you didn't have the interesting challenge is the three of them. You've got the fact there's the three brothers there, and you can't upset one. Like I think my thoughts is he'll stay, and we'll have to pay him a whack of money. But I think there's got to be a limit to.
Yeah.
Like I think he's exceptional. I think he's going to end up being an Origin back rower. But there's a lot of good back rower, and the difference between a great back rower and a good back rower is probably not the same as other positions necessarily. I think the difference between a great halfback and an average halfback is huge.
Paying a back rower $1 million is a recipe for disaster.
Well, when you're already paying $600,000 for Kai Pearce-Paul on the other edge, you got to be careful how much money you put into second rowers because you got to find that elsewhere in your cap. So, but I hope he stays. I think I hope he stays, and I think he will with the brothers. And I think I don't think he'll go to PNG because I don't think he'll want to be that far away from family. That's my thoughts.
So Sean was asked today about Samuela and the re-signing and the importance of that, and Sean's response, if I can summarize it fairly roughly, was Samuel is obviously a player that we want to lock down, but we're going to offer him money that we believe he deserves and money that we can afford. And he said if the team's out there is going to offer him $2 million to go, then if he wants to take it, we're not going to offer ridiculous money to keep him. So
which is good. It's all right.
It is good, but I'm very worried that he's not going to be around. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, given what we've been through, if there was a signed contract in someone's desk, you'd think that would be out and about in the media to try and get a little bit of curry, a little bit of good will. The fact that this is just dragging on, makes me start to think those things. And hey, haven't we found out that a lot of these conspiracy theories end up being right? Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Maybe not. I'm not as convinced by that, Joel.
I knew
I think you only remember the
I knew you'd bite on that, Josh.
That's it.
I knew you'd bite on that one. We have guys playing busted, is what Benji said, and they should have probably had surgery. I think they should have had surgery a couple of weeks ago when the season was over. Is that setting us up for failure next year? I hope we've got good medical advice that is these guys are going to go off and have their surgery, but be fit and firing and ready for round one when Joel spends a whole lot of money to go to Las Vegas and see them playing. So I do have a bit of a vested interest there. But Nick, I mean, we've known it, haven't we? Buller, Doueihi, Makasini, there's guys that are playing broken, and you can tell that they are. It's got to happen now. The season's over. You do it now, surely to God.
Yeah, you'd think so. Even Uppy, 250th game today, which was amazing. But Sean also said today, Uppy was meant to be out for 4 weeks and was out for one. and came back. And he mentioned how he cannot believe and can't understand how the amount of physical, work and impact that he puts his body through, that he's still going. So you're right. A whole bunch of them are physically busted up and probably should have, taken that option to, opt out of the rest of the season and have that surgery. But it is going to impact us because I'd have to list them all down and see who's meant to be playing in the rep games at the end of the season. But if they're going to be playing rep games and then having surgery, like some of these guys, I can imagine might not be back until January or mid-January, which doesn't give much time before your Vegas trip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're playing in the World Cup, you're probably not back starting training even without surgery till January, because you've got to have 9 weeks off between the last game. So, and you know what? It's a really interesting one with that. Like, how many of these guys have decided, well, I'll put off surgery because I won't want to play for my country in the World Cup, which, it's hard because you're a club. You go, well, I'm paying you, but also I don't think the clubs clubs can't force a guy into surgery for one. So I'd be interested to see what happens there. But as you said, there's a bunch of them. I know Macasini, I heard during the week they were talking about Terrell May is on a restricted training times. He wasn't at one of the sessions. They were like, oh, that's because he's on restricted duties. He can't train as much as the other guys. Macasini, Doueihi, as you said. Twal came back early from that injury. Appy came back early from injury. Herbert had the injury and came back. He looks all right, but there's a lot of guys there, plus the ones who are still out with injury. That's a lot of our team who will not have much of an off season, you'd imagine, in some cases. So that hopefully they're on the field, Joel, and not us sitting in the stands with you at the start of the start of the Vegas game. So
the season is a long season, isn't it? When you think about, there's two teams that are still going to be playing in 9 weeks' time from now. Like our season we've still got 4 more games, but 5 more weeks of the season to go. It just seems so long. And do you think, Nick, that's because we're out of finals contention and we're looking at the finish line in a different way? But to me, it just feels like it's just dragging on.
I was going to say, I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that we don't win many games, so every season drags. I always love getting to the end of our round 26 or round 27, our final round of the regular season, because that's us done.
Yeah,
then I can
always.
Then I can lower the anxiety levels and just watch finals footy, and it doesn't really matter what happens. But 100%. I think because it's been 15 years of failure and 15 years of exactly the same stuff. Groundhog Day, The Sound of Silence, pain. It all drags on.
Yeah, the World Cup doesn't finish till the 15th of November.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A lot of footy.
Yeah. Am I right in saying that the buy has come at just the right time for the West Tigers podcast?
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last topic. It looks like Jaden Brayley is going to be signing with the club for 2 seasons. Can obviously play at hooker, so will be a very good deputy to Appy. But there's also some talk that he could be considered for the 13 role. Or I would say, Josh, that this is potentially an ideal straight out of the box number 14.
I agree. I think it's a very good signing. I think he sits on the bench well. I think the advantage to that is two advantage. I mean, one, obviously he's an experienced player, comes with a good reputation as a great trainer and a leader. He's at 170 NRL games. But in that, if I look at the bench and I put him on there today, you got Tristan Hope on there. He's can only play hooker. Like, that's all he can do.
Yeah.
But you've got Brayley, who played 5 of the last 6 games for the Raiders at lock. He can come off the bench. He can play at hooker. But then when Appy comes back on, you can move into lock. You can get a bit more minutes out of there. Twal can go off. It gives you a bit more variety on that bench. You're not carrying a hooker who's only playing 10 or 15 minutes. I know some people would be concerned about Hayward, but I don't want Hayward spending next season playing 10 minutes off the bench either. Like,
you want him playing New South Wales Cup.
Yeah, correct. I want him playing lots of minutes, getting a few games up there. Maybe, he plays occasionally, comes off the bench, or if Appy's injured or out, he comes up. I don't think he can be a backup hooker for his own development, whereas Brayley doesn't need developing. He's 30. He can sit on the bench and play 15, 20 minutes every week and be perfectly happy with that. So I think, the club has, they need to make some more signing. I think we've still got 7 empty spots, but I think that's a really good signing, a really smart signing for the structure of our squad, but also to bring some leadership and some experience. Like, he has good reputation for being a really hard trainer and a good leadership guy and culture guy. So.
It looks like, Nick, for 27, there'll be no big sugar hit kind of signing, but it's these kind of signings like Brayley, like Avarillo, who I know we're paying a fair bit of money for, but he's not a like a superstar player that we're buying and putting our hopes in. But strategic recruitment we seem to be moving in the right direction. I'm not upset we missed out on Blore. Blore wanted too much money apparently, but even at the right money, I wasn't overly enthusiastic about that. But it's still prop. When you look at 2027, you still think we're one prop short.
Yeah, I agree. What's Corey Horsburgh decided to do? Is he still a free agent?
Well, I think he'd like to go to Queensland, but I don't think there's going to be many opportunities for him to go to Queensland.
Yeah.
Sydney's closer.
I don't know who else is available. We do need a prop. We 100% need a prop. We need to get Sione back into the prop rotation as well. And if you're talking about someone like Jaden Brayley potentially being a 13, or maybe Benji will say, hey, AD, you're going to be 13, then, that opens up an opportunity for Twally to even go back into the prop. So, I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting offseason. Like Josh said, I didn't realize we had 7 spots available, so that's quite a few places to fill. Yeah,
at least. Yeah.
And some of those, I imagine, will be filled with a couple of the ones at the bottom with guys who are already here. Like you'd imagine Suka probably re-signs, given he's played quite a few games. Probably maybe already has, and it just hasn't been announced because it's not, that exciting. But yeah, there's still a few spots. I agree. Prop is the one where, having a look at the roster for next year, that's where we need to fill that up and boost that. And yeah, I like you got Hunt coming back. As you said, Twal maybe pushes into if we play a different lock, you kind of got Twal, Seafarth, May, Hunt, Pole, Fainu. It becomes a bit boost. Well, we're playing those 3 props of the 3 middle kind of lock rotation. We definitely need some more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there about how we structure the side.
I'll give Seafarth a rap. Thought he was good today. He tried hard. He tried very hard. Do you think that was a try? That runaway? I mean, it was a strip, right? Was it a strip?
He knocked it on.
I've seen worse given, but I agree. I think
goes against us.
I think what he should have done is got tackled. If he got tackled a meter out, I reckon he would have played on from that. So yeah.
Oh well.
It was exciting to see. Great to watch.
It's a tough life being a West Tigers fan, and I'm finding it very exhausting at the moment because I don't know where we're going in terms of like the halves and things like that. So I think the buyers come at a good time to refresh and reset. I reckon Javon Andrews is going to be playing in the next round. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case. I hope Doueihi's not stubborn, and I hope Doueihi goes off and gets whatever surgery he needs, because there's a lot of eggs in that Doueihi basket for next year, although I don't know how that's going to play out. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, I'd love to see Javon. I hope he's back too.
Well, we won't.
To the detriment of the Magpies, because as you mentioned, Josh, it was a big win by the Magpies.
Yeah. The 50 to 24, and he had about 7 try assists, I think.
Impressive. Again,
impressive.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there won't be a midweek edition of the pod, so unless something catastrophic or amazing happens.
Just made my week, Joel.
Yeah, exactly. So put your feet up, have a rest, and we'll regroup for the West Tigers podcast at some stage down the track. There won't be a post-game edition of the pod next week, but we might do something. We'll see what happens. Thank you, boys.
Thanks, Joel.
Up the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Whoa!